People often ask about the issue of tithing, and my impression is that this would be very well dealt with by most standard commentary. Tithing was a system under the Old Covenant to support the Levitical activity, as you know. First and second tithe. The first tithe was a tenth of income. Second tithe was also a tenth of income, but it was expressly designed to help you to get to the festivals. Well, we're not keeping the Jewish festivals, of course, under the New Covenant. Paul, when he taught the Corinthians, ventured the idea correctly that he was giving his services free. I don't think he was teaching those people to tithe in the mathematical sense. Having said that, of course, it's fine to give generously to any cause that you believe in, but to insist on a mathematical tenth and to use the text in Malachi, for example, about bringing all the tithes into the storehouse is wrong, because he's speaking there about the law of Moses expressly. So I think one has to be very careful about insisting on a tenth as being a matter of sin or not sin. Yes, generous giving, kindly giving, helping individual causes and so on, helping out in church settings where there's a special need is wonderful. The pastor can be paid if that's the way it's possible. The worker is worthy of his hire. Many, however, can work at pastoring part-time. Others are not paid at all. There's all sorts of scope and variety, I think, in that case. But to insist on a mathematical tenth is almost certainly wrong under the New Covenant, so that should not be encouraged, is my impression. Again, all this is dealt with well in standard commentary. And while we're on that subject, I get the impression that very many Bible questions are well answered in standard commentary. Now, the difficulty is that people cannot afford perhaps to own the Word Biblical Commentary, wonderful series, state-of-the-art in evangelical scholarship, or the great classic dictionaries like the Hastings Bible Dictionary, the Dictionary of Christ and the Gospels, a whole series of marvelous pieces where the best brains in the Bible business give their opinion. Now, this doesn't guarantee infallibility, I understand that. But the people at Yale and Harvard and Oxford and Cambridge who write the international critical commentary on the various books of the Bible, the Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges, is marvelous material. In many cases, it supports the idea that the Trinity, for example, is not a biblical doctrine at all. So my urge here is to encourage you to look at those standard marvelous commentaries as well as your own research and keep a balance. What you learn in church may be at a different level because perhaps your leader has not had exposure to those great works. So it's not easy, but try to be a Berean and examine everything carefully on your own. Much of this is available then either second-hand, the Word Biblical Commentary, or much of it's online, even the old classic commentaries. Do consult them, because people are often asking questions which show that they have not done very much research on their own.